Welcome to the show, everybody. It's the Crypto Lark. Today I have with me Karel Striegel. He is the founder and CEO over at FundRequest. Welcome.
Hi guys, thank you. Thanks Lark for having us. Nice
Absolutely,
to
my
meet you as
pleasure.
well.
My pleasure. Welcome. Now, can you tell us, for anyone who doesn't know about FundRequest, what are you guys doing? Give me the short version.
Well, the short version is basically we are building a marketplace, and the two groups that we are trying to have come together are the open source developers on the one hand, and businesses, enterprises on the other hand. And the main thing what we try to accomplish is that we all know that open source software, the quality has improved a lot over the past decade, even that it's so high that it's running in production in large enterprises as it is. So enterprises acknowledge that open source developers are able to come up with high quality code. And what is a bit strange is that there's such a wide community out there, but they do not directly contact them to build their own software. And that's a bridge that we're trying to make, that enterprises can come up with specifications and offer it directly to the full open source community.
Interesting. So basically, the problem that you're trying to solve is creating a space for these businesses to connect with the open source software people, basically.
Yeah, and then, if you think about it, it could be regarding anything. If you need, for example, a freelancer to do some Java work, you have a certain pool. It's probably limited to a certain geographical area. And if you can come to our marketplace, the full world opens up, basically. And we, of course, add some gamification, reputation, a skill system, and so forth in it, so that you can really start to see, okay, who are experts, who are new people coming in, who has a high reputation, but not only from the developer point of view, but also from the project, who is a project that gives great specifications, is always clear, is new, has a reputation of behaving correctly, paying out as required, compared to new projects that maybe you have to be a bit careful and maybe start with slower and much more smaller requests.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Now, why do you think that cryptocurrencies and the gig economy, why do you think this is such a good fit?
Well, for us, mainly the large added value of blockchain is twofold. On the one hand, it is a very easy, it's technology, and we're all very into technology because the full team has a technical background, and it allows us in an easy way to handle financial transactions. So that's the first positive point.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing that is perfect match to open source is that every transaction is publicly available. Everything is out there, everything can be seen. And with Etherscan, they're a great service of validating contracts. Even the source code of the contract that's being called is also public, and that is a perfect match with the open source code. So,
And why do you think that open source development is so important anyway? I mean, from a company's perspective, maybe I don't want to have my software be open source, or why is it so important to have this open sourcing?
well, to be clear, the marketplace, of course, we are not one solution that will fits all development. Of course, you will have proprietary software, but for certain parts, for example, if you want to have a certain integration, if you want to have a new plugin, or for example, you have an app that is written for Android, but you want to have the iOS version, you can basically push it out to the open source people and have it developed for you. And the main reason why we believe open source is very important is that on the one hand, it's also security. The more it's open, the more people that have a look on it, the more it's fixed. The same with bugs. More people are using it, more people see it. You have more brains looking at the same code. And yeah, basically there is much more knowledge as well.
Mm-hmm.
And from another point of view, we're also strong believers that, yeah, you pay the developer to write the code, and once it's written, it has been paid for. You shouldn't pay it every single time someone has to write it or wants to use it. And I think overall, for technology purposes, we would evolve much quicker if we share everything, that instead of every company has to rewrite everything from scratch. Basically, it's reinventing the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can be more open, and there are many projects out there that are open and have a business model behind it. A great example is, for example, Jenkins, which is an open source piece of software that allows you to do some DevOps activities. So building and deploying your software in an automatic way. It's fully open, also many plugins, but there is a company which is called CloudBees. They have like an enterprise support where they say, look, if you have a problem in the open source version, come to us, we will help you, we will give you a build and we will fix it. It doesn't matter which plugin it is. So there are many other different ways of building a financial model structure on top of open source. And I think we should really stimulate that instead of just going out directly, okay, we do closed source.
And what about your token? So what exactly does the FundRequest token enable?
Well, the FundRequest token is mainly used in the background because what we are trying to build is a place that runs more or less by itself or by the community. So since we have two parties that will have a certain transaction or an agreement, of course, there will be some disputes. At some point, some party will not agree. So we need to be able to build in mechanisms that we can have a platform that can run autonomous without us, the FundRequest team, having to verify every single dispute. First of all, the number could probably be too high. And second, it will span many technologies. We are not master of every technology, so we will really use our own community and our own developers and our own customers to evaluate the dispute. And that's where our token comes in, because it will be our token that we will use to implement certain staking mechanisms. And instead of, for example, if you want to raise a dispute, you will have to stake. If you want to take part in the community vote to validate if a dispute is right or wrong, you will have to stake. There are several mechanisms, more in detail described in the white paper, by the way. So the main thing why we use our token in the platform is to be able to have it autonomous, build an autonomous system. Great. Of course, there are other reasons for having a token as well, because it allows us to create an additional pool to incentivize the ecosystem. If we would do that using any other token, we wouldn't be able to generate those. And if you would do it purely in ads, that would give the same problem as well. And based on the research, many people, or there is a strong current that is pushing forward to have an ad equivalent of an ERC20 token, because now if you want to support two, you need to have two implementations. So it would be very great if that would be able to get pushed through, because then we could support out of the box without doing any other modifications.
And so what about the settlement, paying the developers? Is that done in FundRequest tokens as well?
No. Well, it depends actually, because of course you can use our own FND token to fund issues directly out of the box. But we believe that it's also very important towards the community and other related crypto projects to support any ERC20 token. So if you're a project that has an ERC20 token, you can use FundRequest and use your own tokens to start funding bug fixes, security audits, maybe an integration, a plugin, or even a full project if you like. And I think that's of a high value to other projects, and it allows them to interact better with their community, and the people from their community are also rewarded in their token. It would be quite strange, I guess, for them if they would reward their community in our token and not in their own. So the way we try to incorporate that is that we onboard specific projects and then we allow funding of those issues in their own token.
Okay, and so how do you connect the buyers and the developers. What's the process? Can you walk us through how these people come together actually?
Yeah, of course, that's quite a large topic, but from a technical point of view, so if we take the developer point, developer has their own tools for our platforms. For example, they have Stack Exchange, which they love. They have GitHub, which they use. The plan is not to build a new platform specifically for that, because we believe that wouldn't work. Developers love those platforms. I want to stay in those platforms. We also believe that they are very good platforms, and we don't want to really compete with those. That's not our goal. So what we are doing is building a platform that integrates directly into those platforms. So if you have, for example, a browser plugin, it will start adding specific information, labels, buttons on top of, for example, Stack Overflow or GitHub, which gives a clear view on the developer. Okay, what is being funded? Who is working on this? Maybe even a search algorithm in there to basically get a good view of what's going on. So in that sense, the developer can stay where he is, and if he wants to, he can pick up an issue that is funded or not. Mm-hmm. So that's, I think, the interesting part from the developer point of view. From a customer point of view, we have two parts. On the one hand, they can also use the plugin, because with the plugin, you can immediately fund directly from your wallet, which is good for, let's say, person-to-person interactions, where just a normal person says, okay, I have this bug, let's put, I know, $15 on it. That's fine. But if you have a large enterprise, that's probably not the way you want to go. Mm-hmm. Especially also, you want to have invoices and all that kind of extra services that you will require. So that is where our platform comes in. The main goal of our platform is to onboard enterprises where we can offer them different services. For example, do you want to have a security audit? Okay. Do you want to just offer a bug fix? Do you really want to have a new feature? And then we will create channels for each request, gathering as much information as possible, and basically hold their hand. And at the end of the process, they will have to pay, basically fund the request. And we will divide it into multiple issues. One issue, maybe certain questions on Stack Overflow, and then some parts will go to GitHub, and maybe later on other parts will go to other platforms.
Hmm. Very interesting. I was reading about the skill tokens in your white paper. What are those?
Yeah, so the skill tokens is a specific feature we integrate into the platform, but in itself it's quite powerful. The easiest way to explain it is by calling it reputation. So if you solve issues, you will be granted reputation in the form of skill tokens. But we go a bit more into detail. For example, you can have development skills, or you have community skills. Community being, okay, you provide reviews, you take part in community votes. If you do development, you can have development skills. We could even go in more detail, because we know, okay, this issue is Java technology based. This is a lot of JavaScript. This is maybe using the Angular framework. So we could go quite deep and say, okay, this person is senior in Java. This person is senior in, I don't know, for example, shell scripting. And we provide the reputation in skill tokens, which is a token that is non-transferable, so it stays with you for the rest of your days, basically, in the blockchain. You cannot move it around. And the more that you basically use our platform, the more reputation that you can gain. And the cool part is that since we want to integrate into multiple platforms, you can gain Java reputation by answering a Java question on Stack Overflow, but at the same time, if you solve a bug, you can also get reputation there, which is quite nice. And by enabling also a time component where your reputation goes slowly down if you don't have any activity in a certain skill, it comes also much more, it will become much more clear how good your knowledge is in a certain area, because maybe today you're a master, but in 2 years, yeah, you might have lost a bit your touch. Or for example, if you're a person that is making a shift from Java to maybe front end or from databases to Linux or whatever, it will become clear because some skills go down a bit, other skills will start to increase. And if we can also show that in a timeline based, it could be very interesting for companies that want to directly contact developers to see, okay, these are his skills. Oh, maybe this guy is switching to new technology. They have a lot more information to process and to make a valid decision. And the way we see it is, if you look at, for example, LinkedIn, they have their skills section where basically you can say whatever you want. I'm a senior expert at Oracle, and ask your network to upvote it. But there's nothing really behind it. It's not necessarily true. It could be fake. And in our implementation, the skill tokens are based on actual work. You have to solve an issue in that technology, and it's stored in a blockchain. And we could create like an explorer where persons can go in and see, okay, this is a Java expert. Okay, now show me, what did he do? Okay, he worked on these projects during that amount of time. You could go into deeper. Even you could go so deep until you see the commit message that that person made on a specific project.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
And because it's all open source, they can verify the project that you work on. It's not a hidden thing away that a company's holding on to. Very
Indeed.
interesting.
And at the same time, the time mechanism also incentivizes developers to be active, because they know if I don't do anything for half a year, it will slowly reduce, which is also been a good point for our platform, of course.
Yeah, great. How is the alpha going?
Quite well. So we are mainly working now on the ERC20 support, which is nearly done, and we are slowly preparing to go on the mainnet. I think in between 7, 8, 9 weeks,
Oh, great.
depending
So
on.
quite soon.
Yeah, well, the way we try to build the platform is one piece at a time. For example, when we initially talk about our platform, many people immediately reply, it's a bug bounty platform. Which is not wrong. We, of course, can do bug bounties, but that's not the full picture. The goal is to really do complete development projects. And we will start with something very small, it's like a bug fix, and then a bounty and a security audit, and then move up to features and to have the possibility of creating teams, and slowly move up and make it more and more complex. And hopefully at some point we can also add the analysis of requests as well, because we believe that is very crucial. And we want to create a platform where a person that has the funding and has the idea can come to us and say, look, please help me build my idea. And we can offer them an analyst to work it out and then move it on to the development side of things. And that's basically our goal of the platform.
Very
and we
interesting.
start with the small part.
Great. And what about governance? So if I'm a FundRequest token holder, does that give me any kind of governance rights within the platform?
Governance in the sense of how we will develop the platform, or
For example, or if there's something else that it does, perhaps that too.
well, from a legal point of view, offering tokens that gives you rights or certain voting options in the company is not an interesting point, because then you will be qualified as a security. So that's not the case. But we, of course, know that community is very important, and we believe that asking questions and having votes on certain decisions is quite important. Because again, we are a team of now around 10 people, which basically comes up to, we have 10 opinions. But if you could ask a question and there are 2,000 people replying, that would give a better idea of, are we on the right track or not? Is this an interesting approach or not? We also just did a survey. This is the first time. We are still analyzing the results to see if this is a correct way of going. And I think the more mature our platform becomes, the more interesting our questions will become, and also our users will be more educated. They will have hands-on experience in our platform, so the feedback will also be of a higher standard.
Great. And I wanted to, since you've mentioned the team, I wanted to expand on the team a little bit, actually. So what is your experience? What is the experience of the team? And what is the role that the advisors are playing?
Okay, so the experience of the team is basically all technical. So we are a team that is combined of analysts, system engineers, back-end developers, front-end developers, and we have worked together for customers, not all at the same time, but basically if you would look in our network, we have all certain ties, links. And we've worked always for enterprise companies that were developing platforms that needed high throughput. For example, being able to process millions of messages per second in their certain expertise or certain sector. So we are, like I said, from a very technical background. I myself am a system engineer, which evolved to DevOps engineer. Basically, my main expertise is building and deploying software. And also out of that experience, the idea of the project came. And since we are all from a technical team, we knew that we are missing certain key elements in our key knowledge, basically. And that's where our advisors come in. So the first thing that we did was attract people that are very knowledgeable in token economics and also have a large network in the crypto community. That's also why we are able to easily make partnerships, because we can reach out quite fast to many people. Also have to say that in the crypto world in itself, people are very open, so that helps as well. In traditional networking, it takes much more time. Like, if you want, you can email a person today, and the next day you already have a conf call. That's not the same in traditional world. So
I feel like with cryptocurrencies, everyone's in the same boat together, so they all want to be partners and be friends and generally work together, which I think is a fantastic way for the whole cryptocurrency community to be.
That's true. Well, at the moment, we are mainly focusing on technical partnerships where we can basically outsource certain parts. For example, we have a partnership with Request. Why did we pick Request? Because they are planning to offer invoices, and that's a component that we need in order to onboard enterprises, and that's also a very specific area. So if they develop that and we could use it, that would be a very large asset. Also, they are planning to allow fiat to be entered. And that's also something that we would like to support in the future. For people that are wondering, if fiat comes in, we will use FND in the background because it's our native token, of course.
Yeah, and it still exists as that layer for arbitration and staking and all these different things. So.
And another partnership we just announced this week is with Endorse. They are basically the LinkedIn on blockchain, and that is fully related to the skill token and the verification of skills, like the example I gave regarding LinkedIn. And to come back to the team, your earlier question, so other advisors are on financial aspects. Again, we are very technical, so we need someone who has a clear and very good understanding of how to deal with the financial aspect of everything. And also PR and marketing. It's also a very specific world, so that we can get published in the right magazines and write the correct stories, stuff like that. And we are currently working on actually a non-crypto advisor, a guy from the traditional side of things, and that is very well knowledgeable in the open source world, but mainly for large enterprises. So not just, for example, a well-known open source developer, which would also be great, but for us, the key point is targeting these large enterprises.
That's it. Well, they're the ones who are going to really be bringing the business at the end of the day. And
Indeed, yeah.
and I wanted to expand a little more on your partnerships because this is one of the things when I looked at FundRequest, it was one of the things that caught my eye immediately. Wow, you guys have a lot of really great partnerships already. I mean, we have SingularityNet, we have Astronaut Capital, Doc.io, Lendroid, Request Network, as mentioned, Civic, and the list goes on. And it's really impressive, actually, to see how many partnerships that you've been getting. And I just wanted to expand on one or two of those. SingularityNet, what are you doing with those guys?
Well, Singularity is for us mainly interesting for the AI side of things, of course, and the way we are looking into that is being able to use AI in improving search algorithms for people looking to query certain requests, features, stuff like that, to improve that specific part of our platform, because that will be very important. And not only that when they search, they get very interesting results, but also that we can propose very interesting issues to them based on their history.
Interesting. Very interesting. And what about Civic? What are you doing with the Civic team?
Well, with Civic, we don't really have a partnership, but what we did was we have a register and login mechanism. And Civic came up, okay, should we implement Civic or not? So we did a spike, basically, where we implemented Civic. And it's working great. No issues there. But the problem at this point is that we are using an authentication provider, where basically you support multiple out of the box. You could support GitHub, Stack Overflow, Google accounts, and so on. With Civic is not supported by authentication providers. So basically, we had the choice: either we do Civic, or we do an authentication provider that gives us multiple options. Well, we also have a third option, do both, but then the problem is that you have to link and combine the user accounts, which is quite difficult and error-prone. And basically, we decided, okay, we're not going to do Civic right now. We're going to use an authentication provider. But once our platform is mature enough, we will launch a request to open source authentication providers to include Civic. For example, we use Keycloak and also another one, which I just forgot the name. But we will support requests or fund requests to have Civic enabled. And once Civic is enabled out of the box in those authentication providers, then we can just enable it with putting something from false to true, basically. And I think it would be much more valuable to other projects as well.
Why did you choose the Ethereum blockchain? I mean, we have Neo, which has more transactions per second. We have Stellar Lumens, and of course, we have a lot of other blockchains that are coming, but those are, of course, two of the big ones that are available now to build on. Why choose to build on Ethereum?
Well, the decision was made in the past before some others were much more known. But the way how we develop things is using microservices, and everything more or less is a black box. We, of course, know that today it's Ethereum, but we are not sure what it will be in 1 or 2 years. As we all know, there are certain performance and scalability problems, and they are working heavily on it with multiple teams, multiple projects, which is great. But we are not sure that they will be able to resolve it. So from the safety of our own project, the way we develop things is using microservices, so that will allow us to switch to a different blockchain if we would need to. The most, because also, many people, also some of our advisors, they ask us, okay, can you start supporting projects on Neo? And we say, okay, that's really very interesting idea, but let's first develop a bit more the core of the platform. But while we are building the core of the platform, we already have in our back of our minds, okay, can we support multiple blockchains? Because yeah, I don't think it will end with Neo. Probably in 1 year there will be 3 others. And for us, it would be very powerful if we could do so. The main difficult point is how could we then have our token spanned across those multiple blockchains? And we have several ideas, but we have not gone into extreme detail because, again, we first want to build the core.
Of course.
Go on mainnet, first things first. But it's really something that is also on our radar.
Yeah, interchain operability is obviously a hot topic at the moment. A lot of great minds are out there working on it, so I'm sure the solution will be presenting itself in the near future. The final question I wanted to ask you today is really to tell me a little bit about the FundRequest community. What are you doing to grow the community? And if people want to get involved in your community, how can they do that?
Well, the main thing, I think, to grow our community will be that we will start with a pre-sign-up, pre-register in the near future, so that people can already onboard our platform before actually the launch. And if I look at my personal network from a very technical point of view, the majority of my own network is also very technical. So we will stimulate people to share it with their friends, their developers, their system engineers, and so forth. That's the main aspect. On the other hand, the way we try to grow our community is by using our existing community, by sharing as much information as we can, to be transparent, to stick to what we say, give regular dev updates, and we encourage them to basically spread the word. I think these are the 2 key points, besides the fact, of course, that we have the marketing aspect, the several partnerships that are coming, and also doing, like today, certain YouTube interviews. That also helps a lot. It's a great way to talk about certain topics that are otherwise very difficult to bring across. For example, the skill token, it's in our white paper, but sadly enough, or we believe that more people should actually read white papers. It would help a lot.
Right?
Okay, I'm also human. I know how it goes. But some questions that we get, we said, okay, it would be interesting if you could read the white paper. It would tell you a lot. And having interviews, that gives a good opportunity to share such pieces of information as well. So.
Absolutely. It's always a great introduction to let people know what the project's about, what you guys are doing. And you're right. There's certainly not enough people out there that actually understand the projects that they're going out and putting their money into. So DYOR, guys, do your own research, read those white papers. Awesome. This has been a really interesting chat. FundRequest is certainly an interesting project, and I know we're all going to be watching it moving forward to see who the next partners are. So many great partnerships, and of course, we'll all be looking forward to that mainnet release here in a couple months as well. So thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and walk us through what you guys are doing over at FundRequest today.
Well, thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk a bit about our platform. That's always much appreciated.
Thank you. Awesome. We'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you. See you. Bye.